Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today I have for you, backed by popular demand, an Outer Worlds character build video. I got quite a bit of good feedback and people interested in seeing more Outer Worlds content from me on my YouTube. So here we go. Today, for my second video, I will give you the Assassin. This character has been inspired by fictional characters such as the Operative from the Serenity movie, another Firefly reference, and Agent 13 from the Hitman series. So let's dive on in here first with a short bit of history, and then we'll dive on into the social interactions and things of that nature. The assassin has an unknown background in history. What is known is that the assassin is highly skilled and seems to take orders from someone high up on either the board or even Earth government itself. The details of how he boarded the Hope are foggy at best, but the Hope's personnel records has his profession labeled as vicar. His real mission is also unknown to everyone except himself, and seeing as the assassin has been in cryostasis for 70 years, I doubt he has a need to still carry that mission out. So there you go. Very short, brief background history part on the assassin. I kind of want to keep him shrouded in mystery here because, well, he's an assassin. He strikes from the shadows. Anyway, social interactions. The assassin seems to be a strong moral character with some kind of code of honor. He is religious and will even use religious quotes from time to time. He will not kill a person without reason. But when he needs to, it will be done quick, clean, and quiet. During other social interactions, he will either persuade or lie to avoid unwanted attention. However, the assassin is not above using intimidation tactics. There we go. That's going to cover the social interaction part. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the types of weapons he would use and armor quickly. And the types of weapons I used here are bladed weapons, such as the swords you saw me use in the officer spot. I think it's called the officer spine or something like that. But that dagger that does corrosive damage, which I actually found fairly decent, and pistols. And I would recommend to have. Unfortunately, I don't have any here because it didn't have any of the mods yet. But the Whisper Quiet suppressor for the pistols. Now, when it comes to the crew, he seems to have great respect for Ellie and Vicar Max. He sees Ellie useful for her skills as a sawbones and has respect for her ability to defend herself. The assassin has great respect for Vicar Max because of his standing as his religious leader and values his point of view of life. The assassin is also protective of Pravanti and greatly values her skills as an engineer. However, with all that being said, the assassin prefers to work alone. Now, I do want to point out that the reason I cover this section is the only quest I feel the assassin would really do for the companions. You may want to do the quest to get the companions, but I feel that the assassin would actually only do the companion quest for Vicar Max and Ellie. Generally speaking, though, this is a character that works solo most of the time, if not all the time. And pretty much I've only been using this character as a solo asset. And he does pretty good being solo. So now let's move on to the attributes, skills, and things of that nature. Now I put 1 in strength, 2 in dexterity, 1 in intelligence, 1 in perception, and 1 in temperament. Now the reason I put 1 in temperament is because I was actually I saw there was a healing bonus for raising temperament, so I figure I'd give it a try, and honestly, I don't find the healing bonus to be very good. So honestly, I would put the point in either strength, dexterity, intelligence, or perception, and probably more likely intelligence for the bonus critical hits. I took Safety Inspector for my aptitude, and that is just so the -3 plasma damage. That's pretty much it. Well, plasma damage received. Skills I would specialize in would be stealth and would be melee. Now, skills I would primarily focus on past level 50 or 50 points would be one-handed melee, handguns, dodge, because you're going to actually use dodge more often than not, especially because once you get past a certain point in dodge, you can use dodge to close the gap on opponents. Stealth, well, sneak, and lockpicking. As secondary skills, which you might work on, you might not want to take them past 50, would be block, persuade, lie, and medical. And mostly medical because of using the inhaler. Now let's move on to the next part, and I'm going to cover the perks I would recommend for the build. And honestly, at tier 1, the 5 perks I selected in yellow are actually, I would recommend all 5 of these perks. The first one being toughness, base health increased by 50%. Lone wolf, damage when alone increased by 25%. Obviously, if the character build is built around being alone most of the time, that is the direction I would go. Cheetah, sprint speed is increased by 20%. So that's a nice way to close the gap quicker if you're getting ready to use your sword and planning to spring an attack. Pack mule carrying capability is increased by 50 kg, and the reason I'd go with that is because he's a lone wolf. It's a quality of life thing, but it lets you carry more loot and more equipment. And then finally, resilient. Base armor rating is increased by 50. Next at tier 2, the recommended perks, which are the ones in yellow. I would recommend Harvester. Health restored per kill is increased by 15%. Speed Demon. Movement speed during tactical time mode is increased by 25%. See, you can use the tactical time mode to slow down your enemy's speed, but you can use it to also close the gap and take less hits from an opponent. It's a very good way to, once again, close the gap. You notice that I keep saying close the gap. If you're using melee, you're going to want to close the gap very often and as quickly as you can. And then Scanner. Bonus to headshot, weak spot damage is increased by 20%. This also does go for if you're using melee, but it does go for, or at least I believe it goes for melee once you have your melee skills past a certain point. But if you're going to use pistols, you can actually modify, one I'd recommend is modifying the auto mag, putting a noise, the whisper quiet barrel suppressor on it, and there's I don't quite remember what it is, but basically you put a ×2 scope on it, and basically it turns it into a sort of makeshift sniper rifle, more like a medium range sniper rifle. Now my suggested perks for tier 2, those are the ones in red, is the Reaper. Tactical time restored per kill increased by 25%. And Soluo Kwai. That's the last one, and that increases your dialogue skills by 10% when alone. Now, the nice thing about that is that's actually 10 less points to spend in your dialogue skills and 10 more points that you can put in, say, one of your melee skills, your range skill, healing, anything along those lines, your stealth. Okay, next we'll talk about the tier 3. These are the tier 3 recommended. Once again, these are in yellow, and the first one is confidence. Oh, there we go. Your next attack after killing an enemy is a guaranteed critical hit. Armor Master. Your armor rating bonus is increased by 10%, and your skill bonus is increased by 100% from any armor worn. Now, that being said, that's based around the idea that you're going to be using light or medium armor. And obviously, it's a sort of melee build. So you kind of need some armor because you're going to take the hits. And then Steady Hand. Ranged weapon sway and movement penalty is decreased after 10% after killing an enemy. This is one of those, if you're using your pistol and you're kind of jumping and scanning from enemy to enemy and just kind of blast running and gunning, that's going to be a valuable skill to have. But it's not a necessity. Well, it is. I do have it as a recommended. I think actually instead of recommended, I probably should have put that as a suggested. In any case, let's move on to the actual suggested skills now. And the first one we're going to cover is going to be Tactical Master. Movement speed increased by 70% during tactical time mode for 5 seconds. Once again, this is about slowing down time and closing the gap on an enemy, and this will allow you to close the gap even faster, even though it's just for a short burst time, but you'd be surprised how fast you can move with that. And then Revenge. Damage increased by 20% when affected by harmful combat effects. Obviously, you're going to be in combat, you're going to be alone, you're going to take harmful effects such as broken bones, poison, anything of that nature, and you want to get your combat done as quickly as you can, being a solo-based character. So that's another one of those things. Solo-based character. You got to make the kills quick. The faster you can kill your opponents, the better. But anyway, folks, that is actually the end of the video. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. And yeah, just keep bringing in that feedback, hitting the like button and everything else. And it'll let me know to keep on doing these videos. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. And hopefully I will see you again for the next one.